Right, the final game of the Saturday ones before we move on to Super Sunday. Newcastle 1, Man United 0, and a little birdie tells me it could have, should have been a few more.
Oh.
Where do you begin with that?
Jeez. Let's begin with Newcastle, because it could just be an hour chat about how bad Manchester United were. Newcastle were very good. It's an absolute bear pit when you go there.
Yeah.
You are going to face...
I've experienced it.
I was having an interesting conversation with Dad when we was travelling up north yesterday about they can't quite play in away games, Newcastle, like they'd want to play in home games, because almost the intensity can be a little bit counterproductive in terms of raising the atmosphere of the opposition.
Yeah.
It's strange.
No, it makes
strange.
sense.
But in home games, I think some players can get there and they just sink under it. Because I know they cheer when they win throw-ins and stuff like that. Yeah, but they're with the team.
Yeah.
They galvanise it. The team is obviously in a position where it's got a horrendous set of injuries at the moment. I think there's a halfway house behind saying they got a shitload of injuries and actually looking at the first 11 and going, right, so bar Botman and maybe a central midfield player, you could argue they've been putting the best team on the pitch.
Yeah.
Maybe Dan Burn as well, a little bit. But Livramento has been playing so well.
To have that
to the
burst
extent
still after his
next
ACL.
England squad, have a look.
Yeah.
Could he play left back for England? Not ideal. And I think it's, again, credit to Eddie Howe, who's been doing an amazing job, that I think there was an assumption, Trippier's going to have to play left back.
Yeah.
And I think he'd realised, I'm almost losing both fullbacks, because you're moving the brilliance of Trippier. It's not that he can't, let's say the assist for Gordon at the weekend. It's not like he can't do that as a left back, but it's not the same.
No.
It's not the same. So he's gone, well, I don't want to lose almost both of my fullbacks. Let's see if we can get Livramento into a good state to play left back. His adjustment's been great. He's obviously been coached very well as well. And he was great. He would have been a shout for man of the match on Saturday.
To come back from an injury like that at that age, to perform at the level he is,
he had a setback along the way of that as well.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So I mean, those of us who owned him when he was at Southampton a couple of years ago knew what a brilliant prospect he was, and I think he's showing it at top level now. So that 11 deserves massive credit. You can say, okay, it's not far from the best 11, but it's got no bench at the moment. No. Even I would say Tottenham's bench yesterday looked stronger than, say, Newcastle's on Saturday night. There's nothing there. The young boy, Lewis Miley, it was my first proper look at him.
Verdict?
Very good.
Yeah.
The size of him. You don't realise it till you watch him live.
Yeah.
I mean, that's... I was going to say he might suffer a little bit like Steven Gerrard in terms of injuries for a few years.
Just while he's growing, or...
But he already has.
Yeah, true.
It's now probably filling it out in terms of strength, conditioning and stuff.
What type of
He's
profile
elegant on the ball.
Is he? Because I've not seen much of him. I've just seen highlights.
Very composed, links. I think he knows what he is at the moment, which is like not the best player in the team. And he makes the right passes and the right decisions at the right time. He knows when to release. He knows when to hold. He doesn't look out of place. I mean, the best compliment you could say is you keep saying he's 17, but you keep saying it because he doesn't look out of place as a 17-year-old. If you got told tomorrow that guy's 23, you wouldn't think no different of it, and you'd go, he's not out. He doesn't look like a weak link or anything, right?
Sure.
Doing really well. And the stamina levels at that age, you'd expect a kid at that age to be like suffering badly with cramp with the way they play and stuff. No, really, really good. So he's covering really well in there. We do think with Longstaff and Willock, the injuries aren't bad. As said, Botman could be back in full training this week. So I would think, and it's going to be so annoying for the sales owners, you're probably looking at a game week 17 return maybe.
Yeah.
I think. So it's a wait and see. There's no point. I saw one of our patrons this morning said, oh, when's Eddie Howe's press conference? Listen, that shit's useless to you anyway, right? So whatever. Let it be what it'll be. They were brilliant. Really, really good. As much as United, we're going to give Manchester United a bit of grief now. They were good. So they can beat anybody there. Gordon scored in every home game.
Has he?
I think, yeah. Well, every home game he started, I think.
Okay, wow. He's doing really well.
He's doing great. It's worth saying they'll try and antagonise him Thursday night. He's going back to Everton, isn't he? He's going to get booed badly. Now, he has got an agitable side to him, I think.
Okay.
Where
you think he could nibble?
Listen, he might rise above it and win the game, but I wouldn't be surprised if he does.
Sure.
Like, it's one you'd look at now and go, he'll get booked.
Yeah, okay.
He'll get booked. And they might also score the winner as part of that. He might... listen, again, he's working under Eddie Howe, and Eddie Howe will be absolutely in his ear giving him the right advice.
Yeah.
But you
He's
might
human.
get lost in a moment, right? And I think there is a feeling there from his perspective that perhaps not his side of the story was necessarily heard. But the Everton fans really unhappy with the way he left, right?
Yeah.
So something to watch out for in that game Thursday night. I think from their perspective at the moment, it's probably the same team. And then because of the 5-day turnaround, then going into Tottenham, you just reassess and see what the bodies are. I tweeted Saturday night and I said, I think they'll probably go over that 5-game period where it's all so close together. They'll literally go into a state of play, recuperation, play.
Reassess, yeah.
They won't even train.
Yep.
Do some bit on set pieces and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
Well, I mean, we'll train, but not...
Nothing intensive, yeah.
You're not going to be playing 11... I mean, got 22 players to play an 11-side match, but I don't think they'll be training with like a full-on intensity. And obviously, the way they play is with it. But if you're asking them to do it at the moment, you're just going to get more injuries, I think.
Yeah.
So you might get them play a little bit differently in some of these forthcoming ones. The next 4 league games, there's only one at home, which is Fulham, right?
Yes.
So even that is 3 days after Milan. You might find the intensity is not to its normal level. The atmosphere might not be to its normal level because it's 3 days after playing AC Milan. Oh, it's just Fulham. It is a psychological thing.
No,
It
you're
happens to
right.
football
Yeah.
fans as well. So I think with one of the big things on Nunes over Isak for me was when you put this all together, it's like, let me wait. Let me make sure I'm on the right side of this because it's 17 and 18 that interests me most. I wouldn't be shocked if they got turned over at Everton on Thursday night, despite how good that was, because they're going to get the reverse at Everton on Thursday.
I'm very intrigued.
And I'm sure they'll deal with it, but yeah, try and watch the game. I'll be at White Hart Lane, so I won't be able to. I might try and catch the opening 20 minutes or half hour
Even
or so.
before you go on to Man United, I'm intrigued to watch Newcastle Tottenham. I think that'll be a really good game.
I think, by the way, one to consider for those who've already got Gordon and might be sitting there, well, I'm not happy with Diaby over coming weeks and stuff. He's probably not getting spoken about because he's more expensive than Gordon. He's Almiron. I think he's an interesting one over this period. I think.
Why?
Keep an eye on, because he's very capable of returning and hauling. It's in his makeup. He can do it. We've seen it now.
Yeah.
He should have scored at the weekend.
Okay.
Definitely. Yeah, they're doing
No
really
risk
well.
to his place there, no?
Trippier is a definite hold if you've got, by the way. It's like every week. Those who've got, like, I can find some money by selling Trippier, and every one of us who doesn't own is like, how am I getting there?
Yeah.
So definite hold. Lascelles owners need to wait. Livramento owners is now looking a positive. At this minute, you'd now buy Livramento over Lascelles. I think there's going to be a lot of interest in Dubravka, and I get it. Perfectly understandable. Just reference what we said near the start of the podcast.
Yep.
And again, if you've got Isak, it's a definite play Thursday night. You could make a case he's part of the captaincy discussion if you fancied him Thursday night, maybe. I wouldn't captain Gordon.
No.
I'm obviously open for a red card because, yeah, get suspended against my team for the weekend. Yeah, of course.
Right, is it time for you to talk about Man United? So I saw...
I looked at the clock then just to see how long we've been talking.
Yeah, how long have you got? So before you start, I saw a tweet from you about a certain Marcus Rashford. I saw a lot of clips doing the rounds. You've mentioned it. You mentioned it before everyone jumped off him early in the season, saying you just saw something was off. And I want to say it was around like a, in air quotes, easy run, fixture-wise.
Yeah, I took a -4 to sell him in the middle of their really good run.
Yeah.
I'd seen enough.
So
that was after they'd won at Burnley, and his underlying numbers weren't bad that night. I'd seen enough.
Yeah.
I again think that he might be carrying an injury. I said that at the start of the season, in as early as sort of game week 2-3. It was like, something's not right here. But that at the weekend was...
You used the words pathetic in your tweet.
Yeah. It's very, very rare that I would come out and I think go for an individual player. But you've obviously then seen the outpouring of everyone else has done the same afterwards. Listen, I got a lot of love for Marcus Rashford.
Yeah, for everything he does off the pitch.
Yeah, off the pitch. And I got a lot of love for him as a footballer as well. There is a case to say that some might say, well, it was an intentional tactical for Rashford to let Livramento go and therefore he's playing on a counter-attack. There's two things that tell me that's not the case. The first is that in the first half, he did try and track back on a number of occasions and he was miles off it. There was one occasion where Livramento tried to keep the ball in play and and knock it out for a throw-in. And Rashford was on a full-on sprint to get back. So it definitely wasn't under instruction to let him go. The second is he's obviously got hauled off the pitch with half hour to go, with it going very, very badly for them.
Yeah.
This was as one-sided a 1-0 game you could, in terms of the quality level between the two teams. I know there's a lot of United fans like, well, our run's been good. Why aren't people talking about it? The reality is, you keep beating shit, it's fine. You're also the biggest club in the country, so people will come for you when you're bad. But if you look at, say...
It's the performances in those wins, though. They've not been good enough.
I was exactly just about to use the reference of my team and say, if you look at Tottenham's performance, people are going, well, Tottenham might lose 4 in a row, and we're still going, we're all right. Because of how we're playing. You're looking at them going, I don't see nothing here. I don't see nothing. Even at Everton last week, how they got through the last 20 minutes of the first half without conceding, beyond me. Yeah. And they've ended up winning it comfortably. And again, you go to Goodison, you win, it's a good result. And I wouldn't say they showed a lack of fight at Goodison, but the thing is as well, he's a star player, Rashford.
Yep.
And if you got a boy like Kobe Mino, right? It's 18, he's playing in the team. He does look good. I think he got a bit overwhelmed on Saturday, but he is a really good talent.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say he was terrible, right? Most of his teammates were. But he's probably looking at someone like Rashford going, have you let that go? Like, there's 3 or 4 instances you can clearly see he's gone, fuck that.
Yeah.
Now that, you go somewhere like Newcastle and do that as well. There's only one result. You got Bruno goes into business for himself again.
Yep.
In terms of his going and pressing. There was an interesting battle of 3v3s in the midfield, and basically Fernandes' task largely was Guimaraes. McTominay with Joe Linton and the 2 kids, which was really nice to see, largely Mino and Miley up against each other. But United swapped it about quite a bit tactically, where Fernandes would drop off shorter and McTominay would go beyond, and then they'd swap and take responsibility on Joe Linton and Guimaraes. Part of that is they just don't want McTominay on the ball.
Yeah.
So I feel like if you're at that stage, get a footballer in the team you are comfortable with having on the ball and play Bruno Fernandes close to your top man and let it stick there, and you'll get the best out of multiple different parts. That bit, for me, is on the manager.
Agree. Yeah.
It's on the manager or on Raphael Varane why he's not playing. No one can tell me United won't be better off with Raphael Varane playing. And yet, the 2 centre-backs, Maguire, and actually I think particularly Luke Shaw, played fine and defended at times fairly heroically. That is not going to be the long-term solution for Manchester United. Their team looks weaker than it looked in January.
Yeah.
That's also because a lot of very good players like Rashford are just not performing at the moment.
I just don't see any progress tactically in
any style. Here's where they're at, and to be honest, we could probably have this discussion every week for a really, really long time, because I had this discussion a month ago. With Ten Hag, and I've already spoken about it, that says to me some of the players don't want to play for him.
Yep.
If he's lost the dressing room, I know people are changing again, won't change nothing. The club's done at its core. I know that. But if they're not playing for the manager, you're wasting time. If you want to back the manager, you need to massively overhaul this team and show the same patience that his team showed with Arteta. And that means you're going to go through some more pain before you get on the right end. And they need to get all these personalities out the club who, if you don't want to play for him, go.
Yeah.
So United should be at a stage, if they're gonna put their foot down and say, right, we're back in Ten Hag, and Marcus Rashford's going, I'm not having this, don't want to play for him. Sell him. Sell him. That will be the right way forward for Manchester United.
They won't do it though. You're right. That's the way to do it, but they won't.
But then he's on massive wages. You're only looking at the elite clubs, and no elite club would look at that performance and go and buy him.
No.
So now listen. Wednesday night, it's Chelsea. It's a big game. I'm sure the crowd will be up for it. Mm-hmm. They might win. They might play well. I do not see them being in contention for the top 4. There's no way they catch the top 3. And if I look at them 2 teams at the weekend, there's not a chance in hell they finish above Newcastle, even if Newcastle get more injuries. Because I'd have way more faith on Newcastle to pull out the right type of results.
Yeah.
So they've now got this psychological barrier of this record against top half teams.
It's bad.
And there's more coming, even like Chelsea's top half.
Specifically in
West
away
Ham,
games as well.
Top half. Massively in away games,
Yeah.
But like Brighton have won there at home. They've got all these teams to play at home still. All of them. So, and you could even say Brighton at home, and I know Brighton's fitness situation was much better then. Brighton at home is not like a terrible fixture in terms of trying to get a result, because you know you're going to get chances. Brighton obliterated them.
Yeah.
So there's one good team's played at Old Trafford and they beat them comfortably. They've also lost at home to Palace. So they beat the majority of the shit, but they lost to Palace, and they lose to anyone that's half decent, basically.
Yeah.
It's where they're at. And I know also they've got their own injury issues.
Yep.
Lisandro Martinez is the only one, though, that I look at the moment and think that's a massive miss. It's the only one.
Yeah.
I could go on for a lot longer about him. And Gary's on COTC this week, so we'll see what he says. That's going to be out on Wednesday. We're obviously doing United Bournemouth, but we're doing it Wednesday because they're both playing Wednesday night, so we'll get more on United there. Sure. I suspect Gary is going to rip them. He normally does anyway, even when they're playing
even
all right.
When they're good, he does, yeah.